Quickly, Alice, what are some considerations that need to be made regarding sales personnel to support the sales strategy? And you talked a little bit about that just now. So touch on a couple other points that you think are important around salespeople to support the sales strategy.
Well, again, once you've set a strategy for your entire company, you have to really take a look at that and see what personnel are needed company-wide. But setting a sales strategy, a lot of times we raise salespeople's quotas. We give them absolutely no help whatsoever. We don't give them any more qualified leads. We don't give them a sales assistant. We don't even give them much marketing help. But we've raised their quota, and they're supposed to go out and get some more sales. Most salespeople leave companies not because they're not making a lot of money. They leave companies because they feel underappreciated and abused. And good salespeople, will always be employed because someone will snatch them up in a heartbeat. So I think we really need to take a look at what we're doing. And I know, oh my gosh, the complaining that goes on in companies about the salespeople. All they ever do is take people out to dinner and golf and blah, 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 blah. They're thinking, oh, you want to support those salespeople more. Well, the rest of the company needs to start to understand what salespeople do because they really don't. And it's really good to do some cross-training and have people tag along with salespeople and have salespeople help the rest of the company understand. I might be out playing golf, but I also worked 80 hours this week because I worked a trade show on Saturday and Sunday all day. You were home with your family. And then I flew on Monday all day and still had to come to the office when I got back, answer all my emails, phone mails, whatever. I worked till 8 o'clock that night, and then the next morning I got up and did it again. And then after I worked a full 7, 8, 9-hour day, I took my clients out to dinner for 3 hours. Oh yeah, going out to dinner is fun, but I haven't seen my kids now since the week before because I've been at a trade show and I've been flying and now I'm out to dinner with my clients. So, hold on just a minute, right? People, I think, you really don't have a good understanding of what a salesperson does or how hard they work or, really what the hours they put in are, and not to discount anything that anyone else does at a company because everyone's role is important. But I think that sometimes we really just don't understand. And then we raise the quotas and we ask our salespeople to do more. We never say thank you. We just say, well, they get a bonus or they get their commission, so isn't that thank you enough? I cannot tell you how many sales managers I hear say those words. So what I want you to think about when you are setting your strategy is how many salespeople do you really need to hit that? Are you overtaxing your salespeople? Should there be one more salesperson? Should there be one more territory? Should it be sliced up differently? Should they be teamed up differently? Should they have sales assistants, right? You've got to think really about the staffing for your sales if you really want to hit those numbers. You also need to think about hiring and training salespeople. People are constantly telling me how disappointed they are with the salespeople they hired. And I'm like, well, what have you done here? Well, you hired the wrong type of salesperson. You didn't give them enough training. You don't give them any ongoing training. You're killing me here, okay? So salespeople, you need to hire the right ones. You need to train them. You need to figure out the cost of getting the good candidates in your budget for your strategy. If you need new salespeople, don't try to do that yourself. It's like, don't do this at home. This is what professionals do. They hire good salespeople for you. Get a professional and really plan in the time and the money needed for the training that's, when you hire and train a salesperson.
Great. Alice has just given us all kinds of great stuff. I know I don't know about you, my head's spinning a little bit thinking about, wow, we should do that. Yep, we should do that too. That's great. And the quota thing, I think, is something we should all kind of take home and think about. Fabulous. A couple questions that came in, and then we do have some summaries and key takeaways. But we have a couple of minutes here. We have leftover time on purpose. So let's take this question, and we're, of course, just reading it from the screen. A C12 member, and that is a CEO group nationally and internationally for those folks that don't know what C12 is. A C12 member is currently working with Sandler sales training, not only developing skills, but sales strategy as well. Yet they are beginning the strategic planning process with M3 in a few weeks. Shouldn't the sales strategy, goals, and budget shouldn't the sales strategy and goals/budget be in place first, or does the budget follow the plan? Any suggestions for order or process? Okay, so I'll take one piece of that, and then Alice can take the other piece of that. So the one piece related to budget and planning, so in a perfect world, and we talk about this all the time, if you've got your rhythm of the business correct, you're, of course, doing your customer survey first to drive the strategic decision making and drive the strategy setting. But so that's of course our first part of our planning process. But there's that piece. We do our strat planning, or we update our strategic plan and create our annual set of goals and priorities. And then based on that, we should be then moving into the budgeting process. Many organizations we work with, however, don't have that sequenced correctly, and so maybe the first year or 2 years, you kind of need to understand that you're not going to get the rhythm correct, and understand you can pass at that and get to it, get it when you can actually get the rhythm correct, and that takes time sometimes. So you kind of just need to understand the implications of doing budgeting before planning, because obviously we're not necessarily resourcing what our strategy is. So
right.
You can adapt to it though, so it's not perfect. But in a perfect world, strat planning, then budgeting. And Alice, your point on where sales strategy fits into that?
I would just say be prepared to be flexible. I mean, in a perfect world, yes, I'd like to see that strategic plan done first and the budgeting process done first, because I don't even know if sales training fits into your budget right now, but you're fitting it in because you've got it going. So that's fine, but I think that be prepared to be flexible and be prepared to make changes. But what happens usually if it's done in this manner is, well, my gosh, we've done all this sales training and sales strategy, and it doesn't fit into our strategic plan, so now what should we do? Be flexible. Change either the strategy and the training, or change the plan, but do what's best for your company, not based on that, well, we already spent all this money, so we have to do it this way now, because that's the danger that happens. And there are so many good training programs out there, Sandler being one of them, absolutely. But we really, again, cannot plan our sales in a vacuum. We really have to think about, what do we want this company to be this year, next year, 5 years? How can we plan sales without knowing that? How can we plan sales without knowing how many new products we're going to develop, or what direction the company's take, or we're going to exit by selling the company to somebody else? We have to know these kinds of things first, and that makes it easier to decide what kind of sales training we need, what kind of sales strategy we need. So yeah, you started one before the other, oh well. Be prepared to be flexible.
Right, that's perfect. Alice, let's take one last question, and we'll answer it fairly quickly, although it's a big question. And maybe you want to just point us to some resources, but how do you qualify a lead?
Wow. Yeah, that's a big question. I guess what I'll do is write you a blog post on that for my next blog post. How do you qualify a lead? I think it's going to be a 5-parter. Actually, it's simple and it's complicated, right? Qualifying a lead is basically asking questions and getting the answers to them. So, how do I qualify a lead? I need to know who's making the decision. So there's a question. Can you tell me who besides yourself will be involved in making the decision for this sale? What's your timeline for implementation? What's your timeline for making the final decision? What other solutions have you considered? What's your budget? So there's a set of questions that help you qualify a lead. That's the easy part. I can give you the list of questions, and you have to have someone to go ask them to, and that's the hard part. So I might be talking to you, Erica, but you're not the decision maker, so I could ask you all those questions, and I still don't necessarily know. I mean, you may give me some answers, but I don't necessarily know if they're the right answers. So qualifying a lead has several parts to it. One, and first and foremost, the salespeople need to know what questions to ask, and they need not to be afraid to ask them, and they need to ask them right up front so they don't waste anyone's time. But they also have to be talking to the right person. And building the relationships to get to the right people is the harder part of qualifying a lead.